Shalom, shalom, Israel's brothers, by Yalla coming back at you with another cold cut. It's going to be a very quick cold cut through the spirit. But as you know, first and foremost, we have to give our honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the men out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth and honesty and sincerity. Right, the Akwath as well, if they have children bearing the troubles and enduring the troubles of education with their children. Right, shalom, shalom to you Akwaths as well, doing the mighty womanly works for the name of the Lord, and the mighty children as well out there, abiding their parents' households, may or may not be with the congregation, but abstaining from the pure pressures of this world. Shalom, shalom. Right, Shalak, yeah. Turn it off. Turn this on. Calm. Right, a little bit better through the spirit. Right, shalom, shalom. So this is going to be a very quick cold cut, just going into what? Humility and humbleness of mind. Because we may be dealing with a sin, or you may be dealing with a transgression, and you want to overcome that, but you're being in denial about it. That's pride, right? You know you got to overcome it, but you don't want to overcome it. You know you dealing with it, but you feel if you don't talk about it, if you don't say anything, then it's as though if it's not there. But you know it's there. You think about it, and the Most High knows the thoughts of man. Let me go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 11, verse 5. The Lord knows what you're thinking. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 11. Let me start at verse 5. Let me see what that's what I want. Come. Ezekiel 11 and verse 5. I'm sorry, verse 4. And it says, therefore prophesy against them, prophesy, O son of man, and the spirit of the Lord fell upon me, and said unto me, speak, thus saith the Lord, thus have you said, O house of Israel, for I know the things that come into your mind, every one of them. The Lord knows every one of the things that enter into your heart, whether it be evil, whether it be good. The Lord knows whether you rebuke that thought or whether you allow that thought to create more thoughts. The Lord knows these things. The Lord knows what you meditate on. The Lord knows your deep, darkest desires. The Lord knows every single thing that comes into your mind, whether it be good or evil. Let me go to 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 23. How long you gonna keep lying to yourself? You lying to yourself, you playing in denial. That's what these so-called drug addicts do. Right? They what? Not even so-called, that's what these drug addicts do. They do what? They lie to themselves. Right? No, I can overcome it. Right? It's just something that, I can just do on the side, and I'm cool. It ain't gonna overtake me. If it will, I'll stop. And then they never stop. And then guess what? It starts to destroy their lives. Why? Because they're lying to themselves. They have that pride in them. You gotta humble yourself. This 2nd Ezra chapter 16. And I'm gonna start at verse number 62. Yea, in the spirit of the Almighty God, which made all things, and searcheth out all hidden things in the secrets of the earth. The Lord searches out all hidden things in the secrets of the earth. Verse 63, surely he knoweth your inventions and what you think in your hearts, even them that sin and would hide their sin. And that's what you do. You hide your sin in here. You think because you hide your sin in front of man, the Lord doesn't see what you're doing. You think it's because you hide your sin in front of flesh and blood, the Most High Spirit, he don't see what's going on. You kind of got one over on the Lord. Just because you confessing your faults to the Lord and you happen to not confess that one, okay, the Lord don't need to know about that one. That's evil, because the Lord knows the inventions of man. He searcheth out all the hidden things in the earth, the secret things in the earth. The Lord knows everything. So you can't hide from the Most High. You got to stop lying to yourself. Confess that fault. Confess that sin. And just turn away from it, man. Right? They even tell you at these damn drug rehabilitation centers, you got to open up. You got to come clean. You can go through the physical withdrawals, but then they put you in a little psychiatric thing. And then you have to talk to a psychologist, and they got to figure out the root of the problem or why you took the drugs in the first place. And you got to open up. You got to come clean, because that's the only way they even know that's the only way that's going to help you. You have to open up before the Lord and put down that pride. Let me go to Zephaniah, because the prideful, they're going to be destroyed. They don't want to confess their sins. They don't want to be humble. Right? This is Zephaniah 2 and 3. Seek ye the Lord, all you meek of the earth. Lord said you got to be meek. Which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness Seek meekness. It may be you shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Let's look up that word meekness. Right? Meek definition. Quiet, gentle, and easily opposed on. Right? It says submissive. Right? Let's look up meekness. Right? We submissive to the Lord. We quiet to the Lord. Right? Submissiveness. So you have to be willing to be submissive to the Lord. As your woman may be submissive to you if you're a man, or if you're a woman, your children may be submissive to you. They submit to you. You have to be submissive to the Lord. Can't be prideful against the Most High. The Lord didn't create pride for man. Let me go to that in Sirach chapter 10. So you have to seek meekness out from the Most High. And if you need meekness, you got to pray for that. Ask a brother to pray for you. That's meekness. When you ask a brother to pray for you for your sins and your transgression. You ask a brother or a sister to pray for what you're going through, and you let them know what you're going through. You let another person know, and it's truth, what you're going through is meekness in itself. Why? Because it shows that you want to get help. It shows that you want to get right with the Lord. Right? It's Sirach chapter 10 and verse 13. I start verse 12. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination, and therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities. The Lord's going to start bringing strange judgments that you've never seen before because of pride. You're going to start pouring out abominations. You're going to start waxing worse and worse. You're going to start saying profane things. Your thoughts are going to start formulating forward thoughts. Your actions are going to follow after your thoughts, and you're going to start doing profane things. Then the Lord has to judge you for those things, right? By sending strange calamities. Verse 13, for pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination, and therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities and overthrow them utterly. So I can overthrew them utterly. Verse 14, the Lord hath cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. There go that word meek again. The Lord is setting up the meek in the stead or in the place of where he threw down the proud prince. And you may be a prince. We the sons of kings. We're the king's children. Right? The Lord will have you in a high estate, but if you're not going to be meek, if you're not going to be humble, you're not going to confess your faults. If you're not going to really do what it takes to be humble before the Lord and seek out that humility, the Lord's going to cast you out utterly, man. The Lord's he cast down the thrones of proud princes. I mean, just look at what he did to Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar had a strong kingdom, man. He was stronger than Joe Biden. People thought, the Russians, they love Putin. He was stronger than Putin. He had everything he said happened like that. He had the whole dominion, the whole realm under him, man. That head of gold you read about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, Daniel, the 2nd chapter. And the Lord even made him bow down to the earth and eat grass as an oxen. You can read about that. And what? Verse 15, the Lord hath plucked up the roots of proud nations. Even nations the Lord hath destroyed utterly, just because they were proud, just because they went against the way of the Lord. Right? And it says, and planted the lowly in their place. So if you don't want to be humble before the Lord going to humble you regardless. The Lord will humble you. You can do it the Lord's way, right? Or the Lord is he's going to make it happen. You can either seek him out by calling upon his name, asking a brother and sister for help, the easy way. Or what's going to happen is the Lord's just going to overthrow you by sending an angel down and just to make you humble in the first place. Let's get an example of the Lord humbling somebody by force. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 9. The Lord will humble you by force. Keep playing with the Most High. This 2 Maccabees chapter 9, and I'll start verse 14. All right? Talking about Nicanor. And it says, this wicked person, it's like that the holy city to the which he was going in haste to lay it even with the ground and to make it a common burying place, he was set at liberty. So this man wanted to make Judea a common burying place. He wanted to go and destroy Jerusalem. Verse 15, and as touching the Jews whom he had judged not worthy so much as to be buried, right? He didn't even think we were worthy to be buried. That's how much pride this man has, right? And it says, but to be cast out with their children, to be devoured of fowls and wild beasts, that he would make them all equal to the citizens of Athens. And the holy temple, which before he had spoiled, he would garnish with goodly gifts, and restore all the holy vessels, many more, and out of his own revenue defray the charges belonging to the sacrifices. Yea, and that he will become a Jew himself and go through all the world that was inhabits and declare the power of God. Hold on, let me jump down to verse. Let me see what I want. Okay, Khan, I jumped too far. Let me start at verse 5. 2 Maccabees 9:5. But the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, smote him with an incurable and invisible plague. For as soon as he had spoken these words, a pain of the bowels that was remediless came upon him, and sore torments of the inner parts. So you got to understand something. The Lord, he was trying to make Jerusalem a common burying place of the Jews, but the Lord smote him with an incurable disease in his bowels that was remediless. No doctor could help him, nobody. But the Lord did this to him. He's humbling him, right? Verse 6, and that most justly, for he had tormented other men's bowels with many and strange torments. We just read about those strange calamities coming upon the prideful. And this man was prideful. It's going to tell you that. Verse 7, howbeit he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride. He still was filled with pride. This man was prideful beyond the reason of man. This man was prideful in so much the Lord was utterly showing his hand by smoting him in his bowels, right? Strange torments, and he still didn't leave off in his pride. So the Lord has to continue destroying this man. And I'm going to show you verse 7. Howbeit he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride, breathing out fire in his rage against the Jews, and commanded to haste the journey. But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, carried violently. So having a sore fall, all the members of his bodies were much pain. And thus the Lord even threw him off this chariot, man. Came and cast him down into the dust, literally. Verse 8. And thus he that a little afore thought he might command the waves of the sea, so proud he was beyond the condition of man, and weigh the high mountains in a balance, was now cast on the ground and carried in a horse litter, showing forth unto all the manifest power of God. So guess what? The manifest power of God was shown by what? He thought he can command the waves of the sea. He thought he can move the mountains. It tells you this man was so prideful beyond the condition of man. He was prideful beyond the condition of man, and the Lord cast him to the ground, and he was picked up in a horse litter box. Think about that. The Lord smote you with an incurable disease in your bowels. The Lord giving you strange calamities. The Lord, guess what? Throwing you on the ground and you being picked up in horse litter, horse feces, horse dung, casting you to the ground, right? While you on a damn journey. Your whole body is pained. You can't even imagine how this man is feeling right now. But guess what? The Lord has to humble him. And it gets worse than that. Verse 9. So that the worms rose up out of the body of this wicked man. He had worms coming up, live worms coming from inside his body. The Lord rotted his flesh. Right? And whilst he lived in sorrow and pain, his flesh fell away. He had his damn meat falling off his bones, man. This is a sight to see. And it says his flesh fell away, and the filthiness of his smell was noisome to all his army. His army didn't even want to deal with him because it stinks so bad. And the man that thought a little afore he could reach to the stars of heaven, no man could endure to carry for his intolerable stink. Here, therefore, being plagued, he's being plagued by the Most High for his pride. He began to leave off his great pride and come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of God, his pain increasing every moment. Every moment, the pain level is just this. It don't stop. Every pain, every moment. And he began to leave off his pride. So the Lord will humble you by force. Keep playing with the Most High. You act like you're not dealing with that iniquity. You act like you're not dealing with that sin. You act like you're not dealing with nothing at all. You're just some mighty man and woman all the time. 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just always on fire. And the Lord don't ever give you nothing to deal with. That's not true. Everybody got something to deal with. Everybody went off. And you got to be able to confess those sins. You got to be able to be humble. You got to be able to be meek, especially if you're in a leadership position. The Lord will humble you. Right? So let's go back to that in Sirach. All right. This Sirach. Let's see what we want. Come on, this Sirach chapter 10 and verse 17. He took some of them away and destroyed them and have made their memorial to cease from the earth. Pride was not made for men, nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman, man. So pride wasn't made for men. You have to be able to humble down before the Lord. You got to have that humility in mind. That's one of the, if you want to be part of the elect, that's one of the traits the elect, or the attributes the elect is going to have mastered in that day. And if you don't have that mastered, then you're not part of the elect. I'm going to Colossians chapter 3. I mean, the Lord tells you what certain things and attributes to give you clues on what the elect is going to have down in this life to be able to be saved, man. Now, we don't know who the elect may be, but you want to practice all the attributes that they may have. This is Colossians 3:12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God. So this is what the elect of God is going to have on. Holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. So the elect is going to have mercies. They're not always just going to be quick to throw wrath to judgment, man. But they're going to have mercies. They're going to be able to be kind towards one another, toward their brother and their sister. Humbleness of mind. They're going to be humble in mind. They're not going to lift themselves up in their mind more than who they actually are. They're going to always remember their dust and ashes and to glorify the Lord. They're going to have meekness. Didn't we read in Zephaniah 2:3 to seek meekness? Right? To seek humility. And it says what? Long suffering. Long suffering is having patience, especially when people cause you trouble. So you got to have long suffering towards other people. Verse 13, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Mashiach forgave you, so also do ye. So you have to have those things mastered if you want to be part of the elect. And one of those things was humbleness of mind, meekness. Let's go to Galatians 5. Let's go to get the classic. Let's see the fruits of the Spirit. This is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness. There go that word meek again. It's very important that you be meek. Yahushua was meek, right? Temperance, against such there is no law. Yahushua came in on a donkey. The Lord could have came in on a chariot. The Lord could have came in on anything, thousands and thousands of angels, right? The Lord came in on a donkey. Hey, Moses was one of the meekest men on the face of the earth at his time. We go to Numbers 22:3. Let's start at verse 1. It's like Numbers 16. This is Numbers chapter 16, verse 1. Let's read about Moses. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kahath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and on, right, the son of Pelev, sons of Reuben, took men, and they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. So these weren't ordinary men. These men were son of priests. They were son of mighty men of their tribes. And they took 250 other men. Imagine 250 people coming against you. And they were all known. Their word had weight. Right? Verse 3, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron and said unto them, you take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation, every one of them, right, is holy. Are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Therefore, then lift you up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. So they charge them. They got their fingers in their face. They surrounded by 250 people, man. Right? And they said, look, you take too much upon yourselves. We can do what y'all can do easily. So how about y'all just chill out? That's basically what they were telling them. Let's see what Moses did. Verse 4, and when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. That's the first thing Moses did when he was confronted and conflicted with 250 other people. Guess what? He fell upon his face. He didn't yell at them. He didn't say, you wasn't with me when the Lord's talking to me through a burning bush. Hey, all right, and he didn't throw their staff at them. He said, all right, you split the Red Sea. Let's see. All right, you go up to Mount Sinai, you go get the 10 commandments from the Lord. You do that, man. He didn't do that. He fell upon his face. That was a meek thing to do. That's a meek gesture, right? Moses was one of the meekest men on the face of the earth, man. Because only a meek man would do that. Listen, this is Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? That's the same spirit. Did the Lord only speak by Moses, or did he speak by us too? Last time I thought. Right? But what? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. And the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And Moses was also a man of war. He's a humble man, but also a man of war. You don't got to be prideful because you're a man of war. Moses then was a leader of Pharaoh's army, man. When you go into he was a general. When you go into the history, Moses knew war. Moses knew battle formations. Moses knew these different things. Moses was strong. He wasn't weak. He wasn't just because it says he was a meek man. Moses wasn't scrawny. Moses was a big dude, right? But guess what? He was meek. He was also meek and humble though, and that's attributes that we gotta have, right? So I'd like to give all praises to and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Like I said, it was a very quick cold cut, just going into meekness and humility, right? And Lord willing, we get to practice these different things right before the Lord comes back. I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. I'd like to bid a mighty strong shalom.